Okay, so homework again, so your answers might be slightly off. Number 12, I should probably just take this out of the homework. I don't really like the graph in terms of a relationship. Like I can't really tell if it's going uphill or downhill, so don't stress about number 12. So for 11 and 13, hopefully your answers are somewhat close. We'll talk about 13. So I'm gonna do number 13 with you guys and just kind of go through it from start to finish.
The same shit as Jack's, except there's no line for it.
So in number 13, we need our data to be price and then bushels sold. So the lowest number of, the price is supposed to go across the bottom. So like basically $3 to $4 we need to do, 3 to 405. Okay, well that goes. 3.4 is probably the lowest. So I'm going to do a little break in my graph. So 3.4, I need to get up to like 4.05, I believe. Yeah. So this is 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 1. So 5 to do that. And then up the side, we have to do the number of bushels. And that goes from like 20 to almost 60, 50. All right, so we'll plot those points. So 3, 8, 4. Sorry, it took me a minute here. Seven. Thanks. Oh, do you need these notes, Kinsey?
I did them.
Okay.
It's this. Alright, then I'm good to go. I was confused because there was only like one milk video, and I was like,
Did you hear us say take a break, get a snack?
yes, that was very.
Did you do any of that?
What the heck?
Sorry.
Why didn't you?
Sorry. I just want to give my homework to them.
Not just making excuses.
I know.
A lot of dots in that one spot. 3.7.
Did you hear that? That neck rope?
No. I was listening to my back.
Trevor cracked his back in sociology, and it was sounded like a good crack. It was like,
I don't like that noise. I think it's so.
I think I was gonna crack her knuckles.
Okay. So
I
guys,
can't right now.
so hopefully your data looks something like this. So it should be going downhill over here. So I'm going to draw my line of best fit. And again, trying to go through the data as best I can. Actually wasn't so bad. There's some above, there's some below. And I might move it up a little bit. Something like that. Okay, so then we have to pick a couple points that are close to the line. So I kind of like this point here. So that's $4.30 bushels. And then maybe 3.6 and 55. Now, I chose those two. You might have chose ones that were exact dots on there. This is fine as well. Kind of up to you guys. Somewhere close to the line. So I have to find the slope. So I'm subtracting these two. So 55 minus 30 and 3.6 minus 4. So I get 25 over 0.4, negative 0.4. It's 25 divided by negative 0.4. Negative, what is that? Negative 62.5. What was my, and my slope was negative 50 on my answer key. Negative 62.5, negative 50. It's okay, like they're within range of each other. So that's my slope. I need to now find my y-intercept. So I'm going to use this point. So 30 is my y. This negative 62.5 times 4 plus my b. And that'll allow me to find b. That's 250 over there. 30 equals 250, or that's negative 250 plus b. So I'm going to add 250. So that's 280 is my b. So that's our equation of our line of best fit. And my b in my equation was, what was it? 226. So not super close, but like again, in the ballpark. So then when it says, estimate the price of wheat when 25,500 bushels were sold. So we're gonna put that number, or no, so first of all, it says, what would $3.90 be? So I'm gonna put $3.90 in here. So try 390, or $3.90. So we're gonna put that in and see how many bushels we would get. And we got, that sounds really wrong.
36.25.
Yeah. Oh. Oh, yeah, 36.25, but they're talking in thousands of bushels, so that'd be 36,250 bushels. So 36.25 is really this for bushels. And then they want you to flip that. They want you to put in 2,500 for bushels. So I'm going to put 2,500 in. Whoops, that's not 500. 25,000, sorry, equals negative 62. I need enough space here. Sorry. So what did I say? 25,500. 25,500, and that needs to equal that whole equation up there. So I'm going to move the 280 over. And I get 25,220. And we're going to divide that by 62.5. And so, oh, you guys know what I did wrong. We have to put the bushels, that's probably what the issue is. Estimate the price of wheat when it was 25,500 bushels. We can't leave the number this way. We have to change it. They did it in thousands, so if you notice all their numbers were like 2 digits. We have to make this 2 digits instead. That's why it's confusing. So rather than 25,500, it's going to be 25.5. And then we subtract 280 from that. That's where it is. I wouldn't have you guys do that, sorry. And then, so this is a negative 254.5 equals a negative 62.5x. And that I'll divide by 62.5, and I get $4.07. $4.07. They had $4.01. Super close. Sorry about that. Confusing. Alright. So let me get you your consoles for today.
Thanks.
So we have two. Just like that one
Let
did.
me send in another one back.
Just like that one did.
Did I not have enough?
I'll do that.
No, you're good. Hey. Hey.
So there is a warm-up question. You guys can take a minute.
Oh boy. Hey boy.
Oh, I said our football teams were playing each other tonight.
I remember on TikTok when I found his sister.
She lives in Israel now.
What? Is she like going to college or something?
I don't know.
So again, if you guys can take a minute to do the warm-up question. They give you some coordinate points they want you to put into y equals the absolute value of x. Think about what the absolute value of x is doing to it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wait, oh, like, help me, please. You're like, help me. Yeah.
Chicken noodles, so these people get confused. Ready? I'll start with one. Chicken,
Noodle. Soup.
chicken,
Noodle. Chicken.
noodle. Chicken,
Noodle. Soup.
chicken, soup.
Noodle.
Okay.
Soup, chicken noodle.
Chicken noodle soup.
Chicken.
A chicken dumpling soup. No.
All right.
On the fan.
So, all right, guys. So for this, when you put a negative number in for the absolute value, what happens? It
Positive.
becomes positive. So the absolute value of -3 is going to be a +3. The absolute value of -1 is going to be
1.
+1. How about the absolute value of 0?
0.
Zero.
There's no negative 0.
-0. How about the absolute value of 2?
2.
It should be always become positive, so it should be 2. And then the absolute value of 4 would also be 4. So remember, absolute value is basically the positive version of that number. So when you go to graph this, you might mistakenly think it might be like a parabola. Not a parabola, it actually has a V shape to it. So -3, 1, 2, 3, -1, 1, 0, 0, 2, 2. There's symmetry here. And so what happens in this case is basically whatever the x is, the y is going to be the same thing, just the positive version. So there's dots going straight up in both directions as a V shape. So this is the general shape of our absolute value graph that we're going to work with today. So we're going to talk about graphing the absolute value functions today. Then we're going to translate, which means move it, the graph on the absolute value, or translate a graph. So we're going to move that around depending on the situation. So the shape of an absolute value graph is either an upright V or a upside down V. So it has a V shape to it. So not that U shape that we're used to with parabolas, but a V shape. So it can either be up or down. And what we're going to learn is the graph can either go up or down, left or right, and it can get skinnier and wider, kind of like a parabola can. So the translation we're going to talk about is either up or down, left or right, like a shift, and then skinnier or wider. And we're going to talk about all three of those today. And I'll show you guys what the equation looks like. So the general equation for an absolute value graph is this. Those are absolute value lines there. So they're different letters than you're used to seeing. So we're going to talk about how the A, H, and K changes the values and changes the graph shape. So what I'd like for you guys to do, if you either have your laptops or your phones, you can do either one. I want you guys to go on to the website Decimals.
Caitlin, I still had cats up on my Google search.
And then once you go into Decimals, you want to hit start graphing. And I'll show you guys Decimals. And we're going to follow these directions. Should say Decimals, then start graphing.
Graphing like graphing.
Yeah, graphing calculator.
Graphing calculator.
Sorry. Yeah.
Oh, I remember this.
That's what's backwards is sounds.
So it should look something like this. And to get those absolute value symbols, you might have to bring out this little, like, there's like a little keyboard there. There's an absolute value symbol there for you.
I see it.
So I have my absolute value of X graph. But now if you guys look at my directions, it asks you guys to type in this. Y equals absolute value of X plus the absolute value plus K. Now you can put a value in for K, otherwise you can use what we call a slider. And I'll show you guys what that is.
That's like ooh.
Add slider K. And what you can do with that then is you can move that slider around and move your graph around. Or you can even hit play and it does it for you.
Fun.
Or you can stop it at a particular point.
You did it. It's the one with the A.
Yeah. Sorry. So if you can't find the little absolute value part, you have to, there's like a little keyboard in the corner. So it's not that, it's the little, use that little keyboard down there to see that. No, not that. This is great little keyboard. Is finding it? To bring that little keyboard down there. In the corner, you guys, there's like a little keyboard down here.
Oh, yeah.
So you have to bring up the little keyboard to bring up the absolute value. All right, so the point of it's not for us to like get hypnotized by a graph moving around, but for us to see what happens if I like add a number off the end there. So if I do this and let's say if I add 2 to the graph, what does that do compared to my original graph? What does it do?
Makes it go up.
It makes it go up 2. So adding 2 to the graph moved our graph up 2. But notice the k is always outside that absolute value. So we want to write that in our notes. So in our notes, it says if k is positive, the graph will move what? So we did positive 2, it went what? Up 2. So it's going to go up, whatever k is units. So if you put up, you did +4, it should have gone up 4. What happens if you subtract or you do negative? It's going to go down.
Oh, I see.
Okay, you're so smart, Kinsey. You were gone for how many days and you got going right on the spot? You were gone for 33 days. It's more than a month.
My mom texted me once and she told me she was inviting someone home for dinner and she's like, do you remember that guy? He was sick 399 days last year. And I was like,
Why is he in your house?
well, no. And she's like, he's
There's more than
399 days last year.
Oh,
Like,
so
There's
he-
only 360. I'm like, what is she counting? I'm like, oh, you know, I thought he was sick a long time. Like, I'm like, I don't know what she's talking about. So like, I'm like, yeah, maybe you shouldn't have him over. Whoever he is. Okay, so up or down k units. So the next thing I want you guys to try is what if now we put something inside the absolute value instead, and we choose that as h, that's just the name they use. Now instead of having the k on the outside, you're going to put h on the inside of the absolute value. So this time, change that a little bit. If you wanted to, you could leave that on. If you wanted to. And here, and again, we'll ask you if you use h, it'll ask you if you want to add a slider.
spider.
And again, that slider is where it can like go on its own. And if you got to really wild and crazy, you can have 2 going at once.
Whoa.
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 You can even change the speed.
I can make it faster. The animation one. Yeah. This is, it doesn't go old. Whoa. Whoa, it's going really fast. This is pretty good.
All right.
20 times.
Okay, guys, I have a lot going on here, so let me hide some of this stuff.
Whoa. Look how old this is.
Okay. So guys, what I have going on here right now is I hid everything except for just 2 of my graphs, my original graph, and then y equals x plus 5, the absolute value of it. Why is it over here on the left side? I did plus 5. Anyone see it?
X is negative?
So if you guys go back and look at our formula back here, yeah, this formula is kind of strange. It has x minus h in the formula. So it kind of does the opposite of what we expect. I think we have one more we need to do. Oh, no, actually, yeah, you can turn them off if you want.
No.
So I'll show you guys an example of this. So if I have y equals the absolute value x minus 7, technically your h is positive in this case. Because it's h is negative h here, so it's the opposite sign, so this is really like a positive h. What's going to happen with the 7 this time? If I have x minus 7, which way is going to go?
Right.
It's going to go to the right. It's going to do the opposite of what you kind of expect.
Why do math gods have to trick us like that?
I know. And then same thing as if it's the y equals x plus 7, then that one's going to move to the left 7. So this one is going to be the opposite of what you expect. Whatever's in the absolute value, it's going to do the opposite operation. Kind of strange.
Is that me?
Yeah.
Do I have glasses?
When you're a grandma, that's what you're.
Oh, I get curly hair too.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So let's flip to the back side. And now we're just going to talk about, and sorry, I did say you can close it up. You can if you want, but I'll show you guys quickly. So comparing the absolute value of x graph to the graph of a times the absolute value of x. I guess I didn't think this was on here. So again, you can add a slider if you use a. Oops. So here's our slider. So if you guys look at this one, what's happening to our graph this time with this a value?
It's one like
It's circling.
it's like a bird.
Like a bird, it's like flapping its wings.
It's a bat. It's the bat in the Hobby Lobby stuff.
No.
Alright.
No, okay.
Okay, guys. So in this case, if a is 5, what happened to the graph? It got skinnier.
No, I have to take a look.
If a is negative 6, what happened to the graph?
Either. Flip.
It flips. If a is like 1/2, what happens to the graph?
Why?
It's wide. So what's actually going on with this a value is a is actually the slope on the right side of the graph. So the a is really like we're thinking about our slope on the right side of our graph. So a is the slope on the right side of the graph. So we'll do a as rise over run. And then the left side is going to be a mirror image. So I'll show you guys that in a second. So we'll go through a few examples. I think I'm just going to go through the examples. That way we can go outside, Barbie, bungee jump, and then come back in and have time to work on homework. So we'll just kind of get through notes, and that way I can upload the video as well for those of you guys at home.
Get our
Right.
energy
I know
out.
there's a bunch of
I'm
slides.
so glad I
Okay,
took
so we're going to shift our y equals absolute value of x graph. So our normal absolute value of x graph. We're going to shift it. -4, +3. But what do you remember about inside the absolute value?
It's gonna be on
You're gonna
the
be right.
It's gonna be the opposite. So since it kind of looks like a negative, this is actually gonna go to the right, 4. And then what's it gonna do with the 3?
down.
Up 3.
Yep.
So normally we start at 0, 0. We're gonna go right 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then up 3, 1, 2, 3. So there's our vertex. Now what's our A value in this case? What's in front of the absolute value?
A negative.
What's the A value? What's in
Oh,
front of the
wait,
absolute value? Yeah, nothing. So what do we assume is there? A 1. So A is 1. So our slope is 1 over 1. So on the right side of my graph, I'm going to do a slope of up 1 over 1, up 1 over 1. So there's my first half of my V. But since it's an absolute value graph, we said it's a mirror image on the other side. So don't keep extending your line. Stop. We're going to go a mirror image the other way. So if I went up 1 over 1, I'm going to go up 1, back 1. We got to get that V shape. Now, if you doubt me, you can always try these values in your equation. It should work. All right.
It's just a reflex to keep going.
I know. All right, next one. The +2 really tells us to do what?
Go to the left.
Left 2. The -5 tells us to go down 5. Again, that's because that's outside the absolute value. This is inside. So those two patterns. So we start again at our 0, 0. Go left 2 and down 5. Now what's our slope this time? Still just 1. So we're going to go up 1 over 1. And you can kind of get your arrow going that way. But then I can reverse it. Also go the other way. There's our V shape. All right, the bottom two, the reason those are tougher is because the A value is no longer 1. So let's look at those two together and see if we can figure that out. Good on these? It's okay, so in this one, what happens with the -4 here?
Right?
Right 4, it's inside the absolute value, so it does the opposite of what it looks like. So right 4, oops, no T, right 4. It doesn't move up or down at all. So I'm just gonna go to the right 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. There's my dot. But what's my slope this time?
Negative
What's my A? It's a negative what?
1.
Negative 1. So negative 1 over 1. So from this spot to the right, I'm going to go down 1 over 1. Get that negative slope there. But then I have to completely reverse that and go the other way as well. Okay. And then finally, what does the +3 do in our graph? What does the +3 do? Up 3. So from the origin, we're going to go up 1, 2, 3. There's my vertex. But this time my slope is what? 2/1. So on the right side of my graph, I'm gonna go up 2 and over 1. Up 2/1, up 2/1. And then I can reverse it the other way. It's a mirror image on the other side. And so it's just a skinnier V in that case. Okay? So what we're gonna do, I'm gonna pause this and upload it for those guys at home. The homework is worksheet. It's all on this graphing absolute value. Those of you guys at home, if you want to see more of the book pages, let me know because I think I didn't upload the book. I just uploaded the worksheet. So.